Yeah, g'day guys, welcome to the channel. It's Big Donk Day. Let's get into it. Here we go. Before we put this 5.9 litre motor in the car, I'll just show you quickly what I did with the other rock slider. There was quite a bit of rust that I had to remove before that. But what I did was remove the front mudguard fender and the passenger door. And then cut into the sill where the rock slider is meant to go to expose how bad the rust really was. And yeah, I've got to replace the inner sill. So after removing all that inner sill, then I've gone and tidied it all up. After painting it with the well-through primer, I can then put on the new inner sill, which I've just cut out of sheet metal and drilled all the holes in it so I can spot weld it. There we go, the inner sill is replaced. Once I've done that, then I can put on the lower sill, what looks like it was the original lower sill. I've just folded it up out of sheet metal and put all holes in it for spot welding as well. So I'll put all that on. And then the top lip, which is sort of under the door jamb. So I've just folded that again in the little folder and welded it all on. And then once I've done all that, I've tacked it all into place. So when I put the new sill in, the new rock slider, when I put the new rock slider in, then I can fully weld everything. So then I put the rock slider in, the big heavy 6mm wall material. Then once I've done that, then I can tack it all in and weld it all up. So here's the finished product of the sill, and then I'll put the doors and guard back on and give it the proverbial slap and she'll be right. There we go. All the bits are back on. The gap doesn't look too bad, like the door gaps. A little bit wider at the top at the minute. But the doors have got to come off, and so will the guards for when I do painting. But I think that looks really good. You wouldn't sort of know. So maybe I'll put a smear in there, a seam sealer, before painting. But I think we're sort of right. So I'm planning with these ends here to taper them back, so it sort of follows with the line of the guard. So taper them back and then a little curl at the bottom. And then I'll cap them so they'll be sealed. So that's the plan. I'll probably do that off camera because there's just so many little things I've got to do. So I'll do both ends the same. Just the shape will be a little bit different with this one when I taper it back. And I'll do the other side, and the rock sliders are done 100%. So let's get into putting this motor and box in. It'd be so close to driving. No one near driving. Anyway, let's get into this. Here we go. Before I can put the motor into place, I might just get rid of this sway bar and those brake lines. That'll make it a bit easier. So I'll quickly get them out of the way. So there it is, just sitting there. It's only sitting on a ratchet strap and a block of wood. But, you know, it's sitting there. It's kind of nearly where I think it should be. I could be way wrong. But let's roll the chassis back and see if I can get it to fit into the engine bay. Anyway, it is getting exceptionally exciting. This is real. Anyway, let's roll it under. Okay, so I've got the body semi-lined up, and just at first glance, it's not an engine bay, right? And looking at where the gear stick is, we're not near the hole, so I need to come across this way. I need to go like 300mm forward. And I think I could probably do that because this is where the sway bar was. So, and it was across there. So if I bring that pulley right up to where the edge of that sway bar was, I think we could be right. Anyway, so I'll get the engine crane out and we can just do a little bit of lifting and shuffling and things like that. Let's try that, eh? Here we go. No. Yeah, got a few problems with this particular motor. The manifolds, the standard, one of the standard version of manifolds, and they sort of hang down and two out, like that's just about touching the chassis rail right there. The oil filter is about to hit the steering box. The other side is the same. The exhaust outlet is touching that side, so, and I'm kind of about, I don't know, 200mm, 8 inches away from being where I want to be. And mainly because there's the firewall. It's virtually touching right there. The motor's relatively level at the moment. I don't really want to tilt it any particular way. Like the other side, we've got a bit of space because the way the banks are set up. Like 4 on this side is more forward. For me to lower the body, I need to cut out part of the firewall, which I'm okay to do, as long as it doesn't affect where the clutch pedal goes on that side. The other side, we'll see how close we can get. So the gear shifter is virtually in the right position, so we've got no troubles there, and we've got enough room for a radiator in front, a nice big radiator, so we'll be right with that. Underneath the car we've got about 140mm clearance between the sump, the standard sump, and the diff. So on this one the diff goes up and down, not like Zombie, it's independent front, so it was where it was, where it was where it was, so it didn't matter. I could have had it closer, but anyway, but then if you have a look at the bump stops, like these are perished, these bump stops, I've got new ones coming. There's about 130, 140mm between the bump stop, so it'll probably hit the sump first, so I'll probably have to modify the sump a bit. Yes, the other thing is that front bracket right there under that block of wood, like that's the crank pulley. The crank pulley there, it's just resting on that block of wood. I was planning to remove that front bracket anyway. It's the Jeep front radiator support bracket, so I can cut that one out and that'll be fine. Yeah, the main ones at the moment are the exhaust manifolds and the oil filter. The workaround for it is, if I go and have a look in the engine bay of Zombie, the oil filter and the alternator are up on top. They sit right up here where this air conditioner compressor is. Now that's a huge air compressor. Air conditioner compressor. That'll probably get the chop anyway, and I'll have to relocate it. So I can put the alternator up the top and the oil filter at the top as well. So that'll be out of the way of the steering box. And we've got a little bit of room in between there. And when I mean a little, I mean like 20mm or so, either side. That hose at the back of the block there, I can put an elbow on that. It doesn't have to be poking straight up. But I'm pretty sure if I just cut up there, up to where that big grommet is, that's where the old steering box used to come out. The steering column, sorry, came out. So if I cut up to that and across, and then take it back, I think we'll get the height that we need. And I'm going to take off this spare wheel bracket anyway. Who puts a spare wheel under the bonnet? I'm sure it was a good idea at the time, because that actually cuts into the firewall where behind the dash, which is kind of strange, but anyway. So I can cut all of that out. There's nothing there that I need to keep, and cut out under here where that rocker cover has to go. So up I go with the body and roll the chassis out of the way a little bit, and then I should be fine to do some hacking, more hacking. I'd really like to have this motor mounted in its location before the end of this video. That'd be really nice. Hopefully I can do that. Anyway, so let's get into it. So this is where we're at the minute. I have just got it resting under the crank pulley there, under the harmonic balancer. The old Jeep radiator support is just sitting on there. We still have a clearance issue here with the oil filter, but I can rectify that by putting a remote filter up the top here. I've changed the manifolds to log manifolds instead of the big header style cast iron ones. Actually, it's kind of funny, they're cracked. There's a huge big crack in the cast iron here. So it would have only been a matter of time and they either would have cracked all the way around, would have been a bit of an exhaust leak, and I would have had to try and repair them or replace them anyway. So I needed to change them. lug manifolds are in place and plenty of room, plenty of access, which makes it nice and easy. This side's really good. Good exit right there. It's not really in the way of anything other than in the way of this suspension arm, but if I do that turn there really sharply, it should be fine. I've got a big ass strap supporting the transmission, and I could probably remove this. I don't need that on there anymore because it's nowhere near where it needs to be. Because if you have a look under there, that's where the transmission mount is, and it's nowhere near it. The only reason I was trying to use the original one was because it had mounting bolt inserts into the chassis rail, so I either got to move it all the way to the front or just make a new one and just have it so I can weld. So I'll just weld tabs on the inside of the chassis rail here and go straight across. So that'll be fine. I can work the linkages out later, that's no worries. The hole in the transmission, as I said before, it's kind of pretty much in the right spot. So I've got heaps more space. I've got room there. I've put the risers on the engine blocks, so I've just got to put the rubber mounts in and make a short engine mount, so then the motor is completely supported by itself. But I've still got the huge big cutout I've got to do. So now that I've got all that in place and I've got this strap here holding it level, it's just sort of sitting there. So I believe this is where it's meant to be. So now I'll lower the body down and do some markings on the wall there, exactly where I'm going to cut out. So let's get into that, eh? I'll just lower it down one more time and work out exactly where I got to hack. So I'll get into that. I don't know if I'm going to get this thing. See, a nice big chop out of there, and that's tons of room. I think we'll make that. And now this side. But the problem is the heater is behind. See where these two hoses are? They go into the heater behind the firewall there. I was hoping not to have to chop that, but looks like I may have to. I'll cut this all off the top here so the carby and everything fits properly. But yeah, I might have to remove the heater first and then cut that part. I don't think we're going to need to cut it as far because this whole bank is one cylinder forward, if you know what I mean, the way a V8 is configured. They're not the same width at the back. Anyway, let's start doing something with that heater, eh? Then we should be right, hopefully. Just put a V8 in a small car, they said. Yeah, it'd be easy, they said. I haven't seen anything easy yet. Whew. So this is what I was scratching around with in here. There's a couple of pieces of ducting, like that one there and this little one here. They go from, this over here is the blower, the fan, and it has a duct that goes all the way across to the back part, all the way over there, and then there's another piece that goes to this bit here. And then those two hoses are connected on those two little pipes. Bit hard to see. So they're connected to those two little pipes. Now behind this bit of sound deadening material is a big grommet in the firewall. And that's just where the heater hoses go through to the engine to get warm water from the radiator cooling system, and then comes through to the heater. So I've just disconnected those, and when I lift up the body and pull the chassis out again, I'll be able to pull the grommet out that's in the firewall and pull those hoses through. That ducting, there's quite a bit of room behind it, so I will be able to cut it out, and hopefully I can just put those hoses in and make a new grommet and things like that. So lift the body once more time, one more time, get the chassis out and do a little bit more cutting. Let's get into that. I'll eventually get there. Man, we're so close. Looks like we got more cutting to do. Just another couple of inches. We'll be right there. 60 mil to where it was before. I wonder if I can take that out of the wall. Let's see how we go. Okay, I've finally outdone myself with sketchiness. I've had, it took me half an hour or so. I've fiddled around trying to get some sort of a strap to hold it underneath. And I got a strap now, and it's only shackled together, which is good. That's a 3-ton shackle, that's a 2-ton lifting sling. Yeah, don't worry about this wedge, that's just keeping the motor away from the thing there for servicing, so I can change a fan belt if I need to. But I got a block of wood under there just to get the right height, and a couple more little ratchet straps to hold it level-ish, one on each side. I think it's a bit sketchy, but it should be right. It's certainly plenty lower, so I'm hoping that we're going to be right. The funny thing is, it actually now clears the steering box with the oil filter, and the manifolds look like they fit a little bit better, but the sump does not look better. So we're not real good clearance under there for the sump and everything, so I'm definitely modifying the sump to the oil sump to make it work better, give us a little bit of clearance. I mean, there's probably 80 mil there now, so it's not bad, but I've only got to hit one bump and it's all over. But it's really soft on those springs, so maybe this motor being heaps bigger and heavier for the chassis, those springs mightn't be sufficient. So anyway, I may have to upgrade springs on the front and go from there. But anyway, let's lower it down, and fingers crossed we're down where we need to be. I'd say we are. We're heaps better. Yeah, I'm getting excited now. Anyway, I'll lower it down one more time, see where we are. There we go, it's in. If anyone ever wanted to know whether you can put a Subaru Brumby / Brat on a TJ chassis with a 360 cubic inch motor, yes, it can be done, and with minimal effort. Minimal. Yeah, anyway, it's taken me a couple of weeks just to do this video. Hopefully it's been entertaining enough for you, and there's lots of little things in amongst it to do your own sort of builds. So there's probably 10 more episodes or so. I don't know, maybe. See how we go. I'd like to do it in 2 more, but anyway, the whole build is just me. It's all me. Gary comes every now and then to give me a hand, or he will be, especially for the electrical side and those kind of bits that I can't do. Well, I can do, I suppose. Nah, Gary's better at it. But guys, thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. And we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.